There is a psychological truth that most people discover too late. Your value is rarely determined by how much you give away, but by the depth of what you have developed within yourself. Many people spend years trying to convince others that they are worthy, important, talented, or deserving of respect. They seek attention, approval, recognition, and acceptance. But the more powerful path is different. Instead of asking the world to recognize your value, build something within yourself that becomes difficult to replace. Your value is built through discipline. It is built every morning when you choose progress over comfort. It is built when you study something difficult instead of consuming another distraction. It is built when you keep your promises to yourself even when nobody is watching. It is built when failure teaches you instead of humiliating you. Every difficult experience can become material for growth if you learn from it. Think about mastery. Nobody becomes exceptional overnight. A skilled person may appear naturally talented, but behind that appearance are countless hours of practice, mistakes, observation, patience, and refinement. What looks effortless from the outside was usually expensive on the inside. It cost time, it cost comfort, it required sacrifice. This is why you should stop trying to look valuable and start becoming valuable. Develop skills that solve real problems. Learn to communicate clearly. Become emotionally intelligent enough to understand yourself and others without losing control of your own principles. Learn to think independently instead of simply repeating what everyone else believes. Become dependable, become patient, become someone who can remain calm when circumstances become chaotic. And understand this, becoming valuable does not mean believing you are better than everyone else. That is not confidence. That is insecurity wearing expensive clothing. True value creates humility, because the more you learn, the more you understand how much remains unknown. Your goal is not to make people feel inferior. Your goal is to become useful, capable, disciplined, and trustworthy. There will be times when nobody notices your effort. Work anyway. There will be moments when people underestimate you. Keep developing. There will be seasons when your progress feels invisible. Continue building. The roots of a tree grow underground long before anyone sees the branches. Your character works the same way. For a while, your discipline may be invisible. Your knowledge may be invisible. Your sacrifices may be invisible. Your emotional growth may be invisible. But eventually, what you repeatedly practice becomes who you are. And when your value comes from who you have become rather than from how much attention you receive, something changes inside you. You stop begging to be noticed. You stop chasing approval. You stop measuring your worth through comparison. You become focused on the only competition that truly matters, the distance between who you are today and who you are capable of becoming. That is when you begin to understand what it means to become expensive. Not expensive because you demand more from others. Expensive because becoming you required something from you. Time, discipline, patience, failure, learning, self-control, and years of refusing to remain ordinary when you knew you were capable of growth. Build yourself so deeply that your confidence no longer depends on applause. Let your results speak. Let your character speak. Let your consistency speak. You do not need to announce your worth when your life demonstrates it. Become valuable first. Recognition can come later. There is a psychological difference between being scarce because you have a meaningful life and pretending to be scarce to manipulate attention. One creates dignity, the other creates insecurity. If you disappear simply to make someone wonder where you are still allowing that person to control your behavior. You are not becoming powerful. You are performing for a reaction. True scarcity comes from purpose. When your life has direction, you naturally become less available for distractions. You have goals to pursue, skills to develop, relationships to nurture, responsibilities to honor, and standards to maintain. You are not constantly waiting for someone else to decide what happens next. You already know what deserves your attention. This is where self-mastery begins. You stop living reactively. You stop checking your phone every few minutes because someone might have responded. You stop abandoning your priorities whenever someone demands your attention. You stop attending every gathering simply because you are afraid of being forgotten. You stop explaining every decision because you fear someone might misunderstand you. Instead, you begin building a life that does not depend on constant external stimulation. Your attention becomes intentional. Your calendar begins reflecting your values. Your no becomes more thoughtful. Your yes becomes more meaningful, and something changes inside you. You become calmer because you are no longer trying to prove your importance through constant availability. This is not about playing hard to get. It is about becoming hard to distract. There is a profound difference. Someone who plays games asks, "How can I make them chase me?" Someone with purpose asks, what deserves my attention today? The first is focused on controlling another person's reaction. The second is focused on controlling their own life. That distinction separates manipulation from self-mastery. When you genuinely have a purpose, you do not need to manufacture mystery. Your life already contains depth. You are learning, you are creating, you are improving, you are solving problems, you are developing your character. You are becoming someone with an increasingly rich internal world. And people can feel the difference. You are no longer desperate to be interesting because you are actually interested in life. You are no longer desperate to be noticed because you are busy becoming better. You are no longer terrified of being forgotten because you have stopped measuring your worth by other people's attention. Think about the most valuable people you know. Their value often does not come from deliberately withholding themselves. It comes from the fact that their time is naturally connected to meaningful responsibilities. They cannot be everywhere because they are building something somewhere. They cannot answer everything because they are focused on something important. They cannot please everyone because they have chosen a direction. That is genuine scarcity. It is not a strategy for getting attention. It is the natural consequence of having priorities. So stop trying to become unavailable. Become purposeful. Do not disappear to make people wonder about you. Step away from distractions because you know where you are going. Do not withhold kindness to create desire. Give kindness freely, but give your deepest energy intentionally. Do not pretend you are too busy. Build a life that actually requires your focus. Because the goal is not to make people chase your absence. The goal is to make your presence meaningful. When you develop purpose, you become selective without becoming arrogant. You can care about people without allowing every person to dictate your schedule. You can be generous without becoming exhausted. You can remain humble while recognizing that your time is finite. And once you understand the value of your attention, you begin treating it differently. You realize that every unnecessary argument has a cost. Every pointless distraction has a cost. Every commitment made without thought has a cost. Every hour spent seeking approval is an hour that could have been invested in growth. Your life becomes more valuable when your attention becomes more deliberate. So become scarce, but not through games. Become scarce because you are growing. Become scarce because you are learning. Become scarce because you are building. Become scarce because your future requires your attention. Let your absence come from purpose, not manipulation. Let your silence come from composure, not revenge. Let your boundaries come from self-respect, not superiority. And let your life become so full of meaning that you no longer need to manufacture importance. You will not need to tell people that your time matters. Your choices will tell them. Your discipline will tell them. Your focus will tell them. And eventually, you will discover the greatest reward. You will not become valuable because people finally noticed you. You will become valuable because you finally stopped abandoning yourself for their attention. One of the most powerful forms of confidence is not the confidence you display, but the confidence you earn through evidence. Real confidence does not come from standing in front of a mirror and repeating that you are powerful. It comes from quietly proving to yourself again and again that you can handle difficult things. When you keep promises to yourself, overcome resistance, learn from failure, and continue moving forward when motivation disappears, you create something far more durable than temporary self-esteem. You create self-trust. Think about the difference between telling yourself, I am disciplined, and actually waking up when you said you would, completing the work you promised to complete, and continuing when nobody is watching. The second experience changes your identity because now you have evidence. You have demonstrated to yourself that your words can become actions. This is why competence creates quiet confidence. When you become genuinely skilled at something, you no longer need to constantly convince people that you are capable. Your results speak for you. A skilled craftsman does not need to announce that he understands his craft. A disciplined athlete does not need to explain discipline before entering the arena. A thoughtful person does not need to prove intelligence through endless arguments. Their behavior reveals what they have developed internally. The same principle applies to your life. If you want more confidence, stop obsessing over how confident you appear and start becoming more capable. Learn something difficult. Practice when you are bored. Study when nobody is praising you. Train when you would rather remain comfortable. Finish what you start. Take responsibility for your mistakes instead of hiding behind excuses. Every time you do this, you place another piece of evidence into your mind. I can depend on myself. That sentence is powerful because when you trust yourself, rejection becomes less frightening. Failure becomes less devastating. Criticism becomes easier to evaluate. Other people's opinions stop controlling every decision you make. You begin to understand that failure is not proof that you are worthless. It is information. It tells you where your strategy needs improvement. It shows you what you still need to learn. Instead of protecting your ego, you protect your growth. This is where resilience enters the picture. A resilient person is not someone who never falls. It is someone who learns how to get back up without allowing the fall to redefine their identity. You will fail. You will misjudge people. You will make poor decisions. You will lose opportunities. You will experience periods when your progress seems painfully slow. But every difficult experience can become training if you approach it with self-awareness. Ask yourself, what can this teach me? Not, why does this always happen to me? The first question creates agency. The second can create helplessness. Your confidence becomes stronger when you stop expecting life to be easy and start trusting yourself to respond intelligently when it becomes difficult. That is the difference between fragile confidence and earned confidence. Fragile confidence needs constant applause. Earned confidence can survive silence. Fragile confidence collapses under criticism. Earned confidence examines criticism and takes what is useful. Fragile confidence needs everyone to agree. Earned confidence can tolerate disagreement. Fragile confidence is obsessed with appearance. Earned confidence is built on substance. So if you want to become valuable, do not waste your life trying to look powerful. Develop abilities that make you useful. Develop emotional control that makes you dependable. Develop discipline that makes your actions consistent. Develop patience that allows you to keep working long after the excitement disappears. The world may not notice immediately. That does not matter. Your first audience is yourself. Every morning you keep your commitment. You are teaching yourself something. Every difficult task you complete, you are teaching yourself something. Every distraction you resist, you are teaching yourself something. Every mistake you honestly examine, you are teaching yourself something. You are building evidence. And eventually that evidence becomes identity. You no longer say, maybe I can. You know you can because you have watched yourself do difficult things before. That is quiet confidence. It does not need to dominate the room. It does not need to demand attention. It does not need to convince everyone. It simply stands there, calm, prepared, disciplined, and ready. And that kind of confidence is difficult to fake because it was never created for an audience. It was created through the private battles nobody saw. So stop chasing confidence as a feeling. Build it as a consequence. Become competent. Become disciplined. Become resilient. Keep promises to yourself. Let your actions create the evidence. And eventually, you will discover that the strongest person in the room is often not the loudest one. It is the person who knows through experience that whatever happens, they can trust themselves to face it. Your emotions are powerful, but they are not always wise. They are signals, not commands. Anger can tell you that a boundary has been crossed. Fear can tell you that something requires attention. Jealousy can reveal insecurity. Disappointment can expose an expectation you never questioned. But the mature person learns to listen to these emotions without automatically obeying them. This is where self-control begins. Anyone can react. Someone insults you, and you answer immediately. Someone ignores you, and you chase an explanation. Someone criticizes you, and you become defensive. Someone succeeds, and you compare yourself. These reactions are easy because they require no discipline. They are automatic. But there is another way. Pause, observe, think, then choose. That small space between what happens and what you do next is where your power lives. A person who cannot control their emotions can be controlled by circumstances. Their mood depends on other people's behavior. Their confidence depends on approval. Their peace depends on whether everyone treats them well. They may appear strong, but internally they are constantly being pulled by external events. Emotional control changes this. It does not mean becoming emotionless. It means becoming emotionally intelligent enough to understand what you feel before deciding what to do with it. You can feel anger without becoming cruel. You can feel fear without becoming paralyzed. You can feel sadness without allowing it to define your identity. You can feel attraction without losing your judgment. You can feel disappointment without abandoning your standards. You can feel pressure without allowing pressure to dictate your decisions. This is a form of freedom. Imagine someone trying to provoke you. They expect an immediate reaction. They want you to become defensive, emotional, or impulsive. But instead, you remain calm. You listen. You think. You decide whether the situation deserves your energy. That is not weakness. That is mastery. Your silence does not have to be a weapon. Your calm does not have to intimidate anyone. Your restraint does not need to be performed for an audience. You simply understand that not every emotion deserves an action. This principle can transform your relationships, career, and personal growth. When you stop reacting instantly, you begin seeing patterns. You notice what repeatedly triggers you. You discover which insecurities are controlling your decisions. You recognize where you seek approval. You begin understanding yourself instead of constantly blaming the world, and that self-awareness makes you stronger. The truly valuable person is not the person who never feels deeply. It is the person who can feel deeply without losing direction. They can care without becoming desperate. They can disagree without becoming hostile. They can receive criticism without collapsing. They can receive praise without becoming dependent on it. They can walk away without needing revenge. They can remain calm when others become chaotic. This kind of emotional stability is rare because it requires practice. Every difficult conversation becomes training. Every disappointment becomes training. Every insult becomes training. Every moment of uncertainty becomes training. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" begin asking, "What is this revealing about me?" That question moves you from reaction to reflection, and reflection creates choice. You cannot control every person. You cannot control every outcome. You cannot control what someone thinks of you. You cannot control whether someone appreciates your effort, but you can control the quality of your response. That is where your real power begins. When you master yourself, you stop giving random people the ability to determine your emotional state. You stop handing strangers the remote control to your mind. You become calm, not because life becomes easier, but because you become harder to destabilize. And that is what makes your presence valuable. Not intimidation, not manipulation, not emotional coldness, but composure. Because when everyone else is reacting, the person who can think clearly becomes the person who can act wisely. Master your emotions, and you do not become less human. You become more deliberate. You become more resilient. You become more difficult to distract. And eventually, you discover that the most expensive thing you can possess is not money, status, or attention. It is control over yourself. Your standards are not walls designed to keep everyone out. They are filters that help you decide what deserves a place in your life. Without standards, your time becomes available to every demand, your attention becomes accessible to every distraction, and your emotional energy becomes vulnerable to every person who knows how to ask for it. Many people believe being a good person means always being available. They confuse kindness with constant access. They say yes when they want to say no. They tolerate behavior they know is unhealthy because they fear disappointing someone. They continue relationships that drain them because they are afraid of being alone. Slowly, they begin sacrificing pieces of themselves in exchange for temporary approval. But self-respect requires a different approach. You must understand that every yes has a hidden cost. When you say yes to something unnecessary, you are often saying no to something more important. Yes to another distraction may mean no to your goals. Yes to endless arguments may mean no to your peace. Yes to people who repeatedly disrespect your boundaries may mean no to your own dignity. This does not mean becoming cold, arrogant, or judgmental. It means becoming intentional. A standard says, "This is how I choose to live." It does not say, "I am better than everyone else." That distinction matters. Healthy standards are not about controlling other people. They are about controlling your own participation. You cannot force someone to respect you, but you can decide what behavior you will continue accepting. You cannot make someone value your time, but you can decide where your time goes. You cannot control every environment, but you can choose which environments receive your presence. This is where maturity begins. You stop trying to change everyone and start becoming responsible for your own choices. If someone repeatedly brings unnecessary conflict into your life, you do not need revenge. You need distance. If an opportunity constantly pulls you away from your priorities, you do not need to complain about it. You can decline. If a habit continually weakens you, you do not need to defend it. You can replace it. This is what it means to become expensive. Your attention becomes intentional. Your time becomes protected. Your energy becomes directed. Your presence becomes meaningful because you no longer give it away automatically. And remember, having standards does not mean demanding perfection from others. Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone has difficult days. Emotional intelligence means knowing the difference between an imperfect person who deserves understanding and a repeated pattern that continually damages your well-being. Be patient with people, but also be honest with yourself. Do not confuse patience with permanent tolerance. Do not confuse forgiveness with returning to the same destructive pattern. Do not confuse humility with making yourself smaller. You can remain compassionate while maintaining boundaries. You can be generous without becoming available to everyone. You can love people without abandoning yourself. Your life becomes more powerful when your choices reflect your values rather than your fear of rejection. So protect your standards, not because you want people to chase you, not because you want to appear important, but because your future deserves your protection. Every day, you are becoming someone through what you repeatedly allow, repeat, and prioritize. Choose carefully. Your standards are shaping that person. Imagine two people entering the same room. One desperately wants everyone to notice them. The other has spent years becoming useful, knowledgeable, disciplined, and competent. The difference can often be felt before either person says much. The first seeks validation. The second carries evidence. This is one of the deepest principles of self-mastery. Stop chasing the appearance of value and start building the substance of value. You do not become valuable by repeatedly telling people that you are valuable. You become valuable by developing qualities that remain useful even when nobody is watching. Learn something difficult. Practice until your performance becomes consistent. Become the person others can trust when circumstances become complicated. Develop the ability to think clearly when emotions are high. Learn to communicate without unnecessary drama. Build discipline strong enough to continue when motivation disappears. The process is often invisible. Nobody applauds you for studying when everyone else is distracted. Nobody sees the hours you spend improving a skill. Nobody celebrates the decisions you make to protect your future instead of satisfying an immediate desire. But these invisible decisions are creating something inside you, substance. And substance eventually becomes visible. Think about mastery. A skilled person may appear naturally talented, but beneath that appearance are countless repetitions, failures, corrections, and uncomfortable lessons. What looks effortless from the outside is often the result of years of deliberate effort. This is why you should stop becoming obsessed with looking successful. Looking successful can be temporary. Being capable is permanent. When you focus only on appearance, you become dependent on reactions. You constantly wonder whether people noticed your progress, whether they respect you, whether they are impressed, whether they recognize what you have accomplished. But when you focus on competence, your attention moves inward. You ask better questions. What can I improve? What weakness keeps repeating? What skill would change my future? Where am I wasting energy? What am I avoiding because it makes me uncomfortable? These questions are powerful because they put you back in control. There will be seasons when nobody recognizes your effort. Accept that. Your development cannot depend on applause. A seed grows underground before anyone sees the tree. Your preparation may also happen in silence. Build anyway. Read when nobody is watching. Practice when nobody is praising you. Save when nobody understands why. Train when motivation is absent. Think when everyone else is reacting. Walk away from distractions even when they are immediately rewarding. Every disciplined choice becomes evidence that you are becoming someone you can trust. And that is where real confidence comes from. Not from pretending to be superior, not from making others feel inferior, not from demanding attention. Confidence comes from knowing that you have invested in yourself deeply enough to handle what comes next. So stop trying to convince everyone of your worth. Build something undeniable within yourself. Let your skills speak, let your character speak, let your consistency speak, let your results speak. You do not need to announce the value of a diamond every morning. Its qualities remain what they are whether people notice them or not. Become that internally. Not perfect, not arrogant, not unreachable. Just increasingly capable. Because when you build real value, recognition becomes a consequence rather than a requirement. And eventually, you realize something liberating. You were never supposed to spend your life proving that you matter. You were supposed to spend your life becoming someone you deeply respect.